This is NIMASA This Week, the authorized voice for the maritime sector. My name is Iretiola Doyle, and you are welcome. Now, the ministry in charge of the affairs of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, is the Ministry of Transport. And recently, the minister, Senator Idris Umar, gave an account of his stewardship as he defended his ministry's budget before the Senate Committee on Marine Transport. The minister also seized the opportunity to announce some of the achievements of agencies under his supervision, as well as outline projects to be embarked upon in the year 2014. Our senior reporter, Chukwudi Ogana, has the report.
One of the oversight functions of Nigerian lawmakers is to ensure that budgetary allocations for special projects by ministries, departments and agencies under their watch are not misappropriated. Both the Senate and the House of Representatives have committees that oversee various sectors of the Nigerian economy and ministries. For instance, the Senate and House of Representatives Committees on Marine Transport have the Ministry of Transport and relevant maritime agencies of the ministry under their watch. The Senate Committee on Marine Transport, led by its chairperson, Hajia Zainab Kure, recently had the Minister of Transport, Senator Idris Umar, defend the 2013 budgetary allocation to his ministry. Senator Kure reminded the minister and other ministry officials of the economic importance of marine transport to the country.
Every sector of the economic agenda depends on one form of transportation or the other. It is in this vein that this committee is committed more and more in supporting every plan and program that will further boost the transport sector of the nation.
The chairperson of the Senate Committee on Marine Transport noted that some of the projects being embarked upon by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, had been visited, and this was in line with the policy thrust of the 2014 budget, which is to complete all ongoing projects.
The committee has so far visited the Lekki Deep Sea Port site in Lagos, the proposed Maritime University Okeren Koko in Delta State, the shipyard also at Okeren Koko, the NIMASA Science and Technical College, Okoloba, the rehabilitation of key walls at the Old Warri Port, among others.
In defending the 2013 budget, the Transport Minister, Senator Idris Umar, started by reiterating the federal government's commitment to addressing the issue of port decongestion to achieve 48 hours clearance of goods and cargoes in Nigerian ports, reduction in ship waiting time, turnaround time and cargo bail time. He also made known the federal government's intention to develop deep sea ports as a long-term economic development plan.
As you are fully aware, the Federal Executive Council has approved the development of the Lekki Deep Sea Port, which is expected to handle bigger vessels and also create employment under public-private partnership initiative. Very soon, Mr. Chairman, the groundbreaking for the construction of the port will be performed. We are working assiduously with the project proponents to ensure that we make available part of our equity so that the groundbreaking will be performed.
The minister explained that discussions are in progress between the Federal Ministry of Transport, the Nigerian Ports Authority, the Lagos State Government and some investors to develop the Badagry Deep Sea Ports. According to Senator Umar, maritime safety has been enhanced through the efforts of NIMASA in collaboration with security forces.
In the area of maritime safety and security, efforts have been intensified to secure our maritime domain and beyond through the deployment of security boats, software and personnel. This is done by NIMASA in partnership with service providers in the private sector in collaboration with the Nigerian Navy, who are statutorily responsible to bear arms during such operations. A similar memorandum of understanding has also been entered into between NIMASA and the Nigerian Air Force. Requisite approvals have been granted to NIMASA for the removal of wrecks and derelicts using the no cure, no pay strategy in order to provide for safe navigation within our waterways. In the area of capacity building, the Nigerian Seafarers Development Program NSDP is making steady progress as over 1,520 cadets have been sent for various trainings all over the world. On the other hand, the federal government had approved various contracts for the construction of various infrastructural facilities such as shipbuilding and dockyard, access roads and other civil works at the proposed Maritime University at Okirankoko in Delta State. Again, I wish to happily note that, Mr. Chairman, we've made our time to visit this site.
And as a way of encouraging local ship owners, the minister announced plans to implement the provisions of the Cabotage Act.
On cabotage implementation, efforts are underway to ensure the disbursement of the Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund, CVF, to assist in building indigenous capacity after concluding all required due diligence and approval processes. On February 14, 2014, the ministry held stakeholders forum to consider the draft policy guidelines for granting of ministerial waivers on cabotage. The forum focused on holistically examining the draft policy guidelines with a view to producing an acceptable document that will facilitate more effective implementation of the cabotage regime in Nigeria so as to effectively discourage the granting of waivers.
The Minister of Transport also pledged the federal government's commitment to transforming the maritime sector, and bunkering services have been reintroduced as a way to demonstrate this.
During the week, the newly appointed flag officer commanding the Western Naval Command of the Nigerian Navy, Rear Admiral Samuel Ilesomi Alade, paid a courtesy visit to the Director General of NIMASA, Mr. Patrick Ziakede Akpobulukemi. This was a way to nurture the already existing cordial relationship between the agency and the Nigerian Navy. Rear Admiral Ilesomi and his entourage were warmly received by the Director General and his management team. Our senior reporter, Chukwudi Ogana, gives us the details.
The Memorandum of Understanding between the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, and the Nigerian Navy necessitated the courtesy visit of the newly appointed flag officer commanding the Western Naval Command of the Nigerian Navy, Rear Admiral Samuel Ilesomi Alade, to the Director General of NIMASA, Mr. Ziakede Patrick Akpobulukemi, at the headquarters of the Maritime Regulatory Agency. Rear Admiral Alade, who took over as the flag officer commanding the Western Naval Command on January 16 this year, deemed it fit to visit NIMASA as it falls within his command's area of responsibility.
It is because I am new and I need to understand my environment, particularly those stakeholders within my area of operation, which is the maritime space of Nigeria. That is why I am here to visit NIMASA. As the DG rightly said earlier, NIMASA is traditionally a partner to the Nigerian Navy in the business of keeping our maritime space safe for businesses.
The visit provided an opportunity for the Director General of NIMASA to talk about the mandate of the agency.
What we are concerned is that there should be no wrecks in our waterways. What we are concerned is that the local people, that is the indigenous Nigerians, should be empowered to trade at least in our territorial waters. What we are asked to do concerns ensuring preventing pollution from shipping, and if pollution does occur, what we should do to mitigate the effects, etc. Regulate the entire shipping industry, commercial shipping industry, and also to make some small revenues to fund government projects.
Mr. Akpobulukemi narrated the insecurity situation in Nigeria's marine environment and the risks that some of NIMASA's workers could encounter in the course of their duty. These, he said, were some of the reasons NIMASA's partnership with the Navy was needed. The NIMASA board stated that his agency's focus was to protect the interests of Nigerian investors in the maritime sector before any other. Mr. Akpobolo Kemi acknowledged the enormous tasks and challenges facing the Navy and called for adequate funding of the force.
It is very necessary that the Navy is well funded, and we have campaigned for this in so many fora, that the Navy should be well funded. If we don't fund the Navy very well today, we should not complain if anything goes wrong anytime. So we have been good advocates on behalf of the Navy for government, federal government, to fund the Navy properly.
The director in charge of maritime safety and shipping development, Captain Waredi Eniswo, made a brief presentation about the crime situation at sea and how the agency goes about to tackle it. The Rear Admiral gave his impression about the presentation.
As a matter of fact, this is kind of a thing we've been looking forward to have, in Nigeria. This is about total coverage of the maritime area in order to ensure that absolute monitoring is in place within the maritime space. And if you also want to know that the Nigerian Navy also is making a lot of efforts to ensure that the maritime space is properly monitored. We have some facilities on ground already. You may be aware of the REMAC, that is Regional Maritime Awareness Center, which the headquarters is here in Lagos. I am sure by the time the NIMASA program is concluded, basically we probably will be having a maritime operations center to coordinate all of these facilities to ensure total radar coverage.
Present with NIMASA's Director General to receive the flag officer and his entourage were the Executive Director, Maritime Safety and Shipping Development, Captain Ezekiel Bala Agaba, and other directors of the agency.
Now, according to the Director General of NIMASA, Mr. Patrick Zakede Akpobolo Kemi, the media has a significant role to play in nation building. He made this statement when members of the Maritime Reporters Association of Nigeria, MARAN, paid him a thank you visit at the corporate headquarters of NIMASA in Lagos. Chukwu Diogana has that report.
The Director General of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, Mr. Zakede Patrick Akpobolo Kemi, has described the media profession as one with an important role to play in nation building. Mr. Akpobolo Kemi stated this when the Maritime Reporters Association of Nigeria, MARAN, paid him a thank you visit at the office of NIMASA in Lagos. President of the Maritime Reporters Association of Nigeria, MARAN, Bolaji Akinola, commended the Director General of NIMASA for the progress witnessed in the Nigerian maritime sector under his regime, especially in the area of human capacity development.
Let me commend you, sir, DG, and your management team for all that you have been doing in building capacity for the maritime industry. We will be failing in our responsibility if all we do is criticize. When we see what is working, I think it behoves on us as watchdog of the society to also point attention to that.
He also appraised the funding of existing maritime institutions and the establishment of more of such institutions to cater for the nation's maritime needs.
Also, we must commend you, sir, at a time man getting its fund released from NIMASA or NMA of those days was like a tug of war. But since your administration, I think they have been getting their funds very, very easily. Also, let me say, sir, that your leadership of NIMASA has created stability in the agency. And with stability comes growth and development. So we are sure that very soon other laudable initiatives and mandates of NIMASA will begin to gain momentum under your leadership. We are confident that you have the capacity to address the various challenges within the maritime industry, and indeed there are a lot of them, but I am aware also that you are taking them step by step. You have mapped out your program. All we can do at this time is to encourage you to remain steadfast and committed to implementing those programs.
In response to the gesture, the Director General of NIMASA acknowledged the efforts of newsmen and described their role in nation building as very significant.
MIRA is one of our strategic partners. The media is very, very critical to us. Not just only we in NIMASA, we're talking about the entire maritime industry and of course Nigeria as a whole.
To the Director General of the agency, criticizing NIMASA is a welcome development at any time, provided it is done constructively and objectively.
We do not see criticism as a problem. Constructive criticism, provided the criticisms are based on improving the system, based on making more and more development for the sector, based on creating more and more awareness and understanding.
Mr. Akpobolo Kemi advised that the progress recorded in the maritime industry under his administration should not be ascribed to him alone.
So whatever achievements that are noted by our stakeholders, we in NIMASA would like to keep them behind as if nothing has happened, so that we can do better and better today and tomorrow.
In closing the meeting, the Deputy Director of the Public Relations Unit of NIMASA, Mr. Isiche Osangbi, recognized the great potential of the maritime sector in turning around the economic fortunes of Nigeria.
If they say that there will be industrialization, great economic growth, you will agree with me that a great majority of trade in the world, which has been estimated to be between 80 to 90% or more, are done by sea. Then me and you here stand to play the most important role to make Nigeria realize that dream that the world believe will take to reality in the next 5 years.
The Director General of NIMASA was presented with a memento in the presence of directors of the agency.
As a responsible agency whose main objective is to fulfill its statutory obligations within the maritime domain, NIMASA is keying into the International Labour Organization's agenda developed to train dock workers around the world. Recently, the agency organized a sensitization program in Warri and Port Harcourt on the decent work agenda of the ILO, and this was to educate dock workers about their rights and better prospects for personal development. Our field correspondent Amanda Akman has that report.
The International Labour Organization has developed an agenda for the community of works. This agenda is known as the Decent Work Agenda. Putting the decent work agenda into practice is achieved through 4 strategic pillars: job creation, rights at work, social protection, and social dialogue. NIMASA, in fulfilling its statutory obligations, is keen into the ILO Decent Work Agenda by organizing a series of sensitization programs, which was flagged off in Lagos some months back. Recently, the awareness campaign was taken to Port Harcourt and Warri to educate maritime workers about their rights to a productive work environment that delivers of income, security, and better prospect for personal development. The Port Harcourt phase of the seminar was held at the Hotel Presidential in GRA. Present was the Executive Director Maritime Labour and Cabotage Services NIMASA alongside the Deputy Director Maritime Labour Services NIMASA. The Zonal Coordinator NIMASA in Port Harcourt was also on ground to host the visiting directors. As expected, there was a handful of resource persons on ground to do justice to the various issues highlighted. The pension scheme, which is a welfare package for motivating and bringing out the best in every employee, was discussed at length. One of the resource persons present at the Port Harcourt sensitization seminar was Mr. Kunle Folari, who then advised all employers of labor in the country to implement the national policy on employment, which stipulates in the provision of permanent or regular employment for every worker.
I believe also that NIMASA will encourage and create an atmosphere. We create a dialogue solution so that the employer can be encouraged to give permanent position to his workers. It looks to me that we need an enlightened regime of workers, and there must be a kind of enlightenment program for workers' rights and obligations.
In Warri, the seminar kicked off at the Wellington Hotel Warri with the Executive Director of Maritime Labour and Cabotage Services, Barrister Callistus, will be reading the Director General NIMASA's speech to the participants. He reiterated the agency's commitment to indigenous capacity building and expatiated the essentials of training and retraining dock workers to accelerate development of an enabling environment for maritime labour to flourish.
Training and retraining of dock workers is mandatory, in line with ILO's Safe Work Agenda and the international labour standards, thus playing a significant role in improving productivity in the nation's maritime sector. The commitment of the agency to change the usual perception of dock work as a job for the lowly in the society and for unskilled individuals is a priority being actualized through the various programs of the agency for dock workers.
Speaking on behalf of the Executive Director Maritime Labour and Cabotage Services, the Deputy Director Maritime Labour Services, Mrs. C.N. Wokocha, gave a brief history on the origin of the ILO Decent Work Agenda Convention and then enjoined the employees of labour to promote the Decent Work Agenda of the ILO.
I would like to call on all maritime stakeholders and employers of labour in the maritime industry to partner with the agency in the area of capacity building and the development of enabling environment for maritime labour operations to strive. It must be clearly stated, however, that it is the responsibility of employers of labour to promote the decent work agenda of the ILO by ensuring that the work environment is safe and conducive for the enhancement of productivity.
In another development, Dr. Obiora Mbanefo, an insurance expert, enlightened the dock workers present on the importance of the pension scheme and cleared the air regarding the compensation benefits and how to register and lay claims when the need arises.
This warning is that once you have accident in your workplace, or maybe you are using the machine cut your hand, the employer is not going to wait to go to NSITF for claim. He will take you to the nearest hospital where you will receive treatment. And by receiving treatment, then NSITF takes over from there.
Next to speak was Dr. O.C. Nathaniel, a director of program for the International Maritime Training Center in Lagos. Dr. Nathaniel educated the participants on occupational safety and health. He spoke on the safety precautions to be embarked upon while the dock workers carry out their daily activities.
There are problems of health. There are things that make us ill, that bring diseases to us when we are doing this work. That is what we mean by occupational safety, those things that bring accident and occupational health. Those diseases we meet because we are dock workers. That is the meaning.
The interactive session provided a platform for the participants to seek clarification on some issues regarding the maritime industry. After a successful deliberation, the maritime workers as well as the employers of labour present had a better understanding of their rights and obligations, which will invariably increase productivity and smoothen the relationship between these important components of production.
NIMASA, Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency. For Obonga Shipping Registration, no. NIMASA, Commercial Shipping, no. NIMASA, Maritime Labour, NIMASA.
The Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, the nation's maritime watchdog, established to promote maritime safety, security, commercial shipping, and regulate maritime pollution. NIMASA is well positioned and committed to take the development and standardization of Nigeria's maritime industry to greater heights. Are you interested in the local or international commercial shipping business or in seafaring and do not know what to do or how to go about it? NIMASA will guide and see you through. Sea pirates, oil thieves, and all forms of dubious and illegal business on Nigeria's maritime domain have no hiding place because NIMASA's eagle eyes will locate or catch up with you. For NIMASA, it is zero tolerance to sea pollution as all abandoned ships and wrecks on Nigeria's waterways which pose danger to sea transportation will be cleared. NIMASA, promoting safe and secure maritime environment.
And so we come to the end of this week's edition of our show. We hope we kept you educated and informed. Now, don't forget, this is an interactive show. We want to respond to your questions, your comments, and even your criticisms. All you need to do is send us an email to the address currently showing on your screen. Now, I'm going to be here, same time, same station next week. Until then, I'm wishing you smooth sailing and bon voyage.